And I'm hyperventilating, y'all. I can't talk. I can't get my words out. And she immediately started crying because she knew something devastating had happened. She's like, oh my God, Tisha, calm down, calm down. What happened? Oh my God, oh my God. That's all because she knew. Like, and I'm like, I can't, this is what I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to say, I can't believe he did this to me. I'm trying to say that.
You are faithful, faithful through all things.
I want to share a story with you, my testimony of overcoming devastation in love, heartbreak, betrayal. I hope that it will help someone to finalize their decision on leaving a relationship that God has already prompted you to leave. Many times we stay in situations that God has already told us to leave, or He told us to never enter into in the first place. I'm always talking on this channel about love, and that is because God has restored me. He healed me from the devastation that I experienced. But I also realized that that was a devastation that I did not have to experience. This is a true story. I'm going to tell you the raw truth of the situation that happened. And I hope that you can have a deeper appreciation for how important it is for you to allow God to choose your mate, okay? It literally could mean life or death. So back in 2008 or 9, I would say, I had just gone through a devastating breakup from what I thought was the love of my life. We had been together for quite a while. And, due to us being young and not knowing how to navigate the relationship battlefield, we ended up splitting and going our separate ways. But this was not something that I wanted. It just kind of happened. And because of that, I ended up being in a situation where I was very vulnerable. I was very, I guess, I don't want to say naive, but I guess, naive. Fast forward, I'm single, I'm by myself. I'm feeling like I've just lost my best friend. I'm feeling like there's no one else in the world that's going to love me like this man loved me. Enters in the new guy, okay? We will call him Jay. All right, we'll call him Jay. Jay comes into my life and we kind of ran into each other at a gas station, right? He offered to pump my gas and I was like, oh, no, it's okay. And he was like, you're too beautiful to be pumping gas. Let me take care of that for you. And I was like, okay. I was really like, wow, this guy just going in for the kill, right? He was just like sexy, right? I really, really thought he was fine. All right. And come to find out, we lived in the same apartment complex. And so it's like, oh my God, what are the odds, right? He literally lived a few buildings over from me. And when we realized that, it was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, so in your mind, you're thinking like, oh, is this meant to be, right? All the silly things that we think when something happens that just happens to be a thing, but we always tend to put God on it, right? Anyhow, so against my better judgment, because I did have there were some flags, there were some things that made me go, I don't know. One, I still wasn't over my ex. We'll call him BJ. All right. So we'll call my husband BJ and we'll call the new guy that entered in Jay. I had some red flags with Jay because I was like, one, seemed like he was a bit of a smooth talker. And I knew that I just wasn't prepared to enter into a relationship with anybody. And I could sense immediately that Jay was like he want to jump all in. Like he like, let's go. Like, you my wife. This is it. Like, yeah, I could tell that. And I just wasn't there. But as time progressed, I found myself getting a little bit more comfortable with him, getting a little bit more like, overlooking the flags that were there and just kind of being like, well, and also I was going through a phase of feeling lonely. I was by myself. My ex is no longer with me. And then I find out that he is in a relationship with someone. And I was devastated. I called my ex and I'm like, what are you doing? You don't love this person. Like, we love each other. Like, what is happening? What are you doing? What's going on? And his ego was bruised from our breakup. My ego was bruised from our breakup. So it was really a rebound situation. Both of us were entering into rebound situations, right? Our pride was just keeping us from going full force with each other, right? So he's in a relationship with somebody. And then once I found that out, I allowed Jay to become more of a constant in my life. I was like, okay, well, I got somebody that wants me. Let me just go ahead and be loved then. Because at that time, I was just completely broken, right? I was like, okay, now, I will say this. Never get in a relationship when you are completely broken. I didn't say that you can't have past wounds or hurts, but never get in a relationship when you're completely broken, okay? Because you aren't fully capable of seeing what you need to see. Your view is skewed, so to speak, because you're sort of moving on emotion, all right? So make sure that you are more healed than broken when you get into a relationship, okay? So Jay starts to be a constant in my life. We're together every day, all the time. He's picking me up from work, taking me to lunch. He was like almost to the point of obsessed with me, okay? And it was kind of cute, but it started to bother me because it was becoming a little bit much. It was becoming excessive. Like, okay, like, we're together. It's okay. Calm down. Like, you don't have to track and trace my every move. And I'm a faithful person. So I'm not going to be like cheating, even though my heart was somewhere else. My heart wasn't fully with him. And so I went ahead and I said, okay, we're in a relationship. We're together. I went full force into this relationship. Boom, we're together. He started to become really possessive and really jealous to the point of making up things, like lying, saying like, I saw you with this person, or you're sleeping with the security guard at your building and at your job. And, and I would just be like dumbfounded, but I would be irritated, but I would be dumbfounded to the point, like, I don't even know how to respond. Like, do I have a clone? Do I have a double? Like, there's no way that you see me doing things that I'm not doing. Flag number 3 or 4. Okay, this was, whenever someone is constantly accusing you of cheating, I mean, come on. That's like almost a no-brainer. They are probably the culprit. There are situations where people have trust issues and they have to deal with that. But then there are those other situations where it's just extreme. And it's like, well, you must be doing the thing that you think I'm doing, because there was no way, not to be too graphic, but there was no time for me to even breathe to see anybody else if I wanted to do that. Flag number 5 or 6 or 7. His sexual drive was like extremely high. It was along the lines of like addiction. Okay, I'll leave it there. Use your imagination. Okay, but take me out of it. In my mind, I'm thinking like, well, he's just in love with me. He's just crazy about me. He can't get enough of me. I'm not thinking like this man has a problem, right? Didn't even cross my mind at all, because we are in the throes of our relationship. We are together. We literally started going to church together. I introduced him to my friends, my family. I can't recall if anybody had any like, ooh, watch out for him. I can't recall anybody telling me something ain't right about him, because I didn't bring him around enough. Like, I was working a lot. He was working a lot. I think he might have showed his face a couple times, but we started going to church together. So, for me, it's always like, if you got to be about God, even though I was fornicating with the man, sleeping with the man was at my house every other night. I mean, I still was trying to be as godly of a woman as I could in that circumstance. Okay. So we started going to church together and everything. And so in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, like maybe he's the one. So I started to fall for him. I started to really get my heart involved with him. Like, even after seeing like the jealousy, even after the possessiveness, because he wasn't abusive. He didn't put his hands on me, or he didn't do none of that. But he was like becoming extremely like weirdly obsessed with me. You know what? I take that back. There was somebody that said something to me. I just remembered this. The security guard who he was accusing me of sleeping with at my job. The security guard pulled me to the side one day and was like, "Is that your boyfriend? Is that your fiance?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my boyfriend. We're going to be getting engaged, whatever." He was like, "Okay." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Just be careful." This is what the security guard said to me, right? He said, "Just be careful." And I was like, okay. Didn't think much of it, right? Did not think much of it at all until later. I was like, because remember I said he used to come to my job, pick me up, take me to lunch and all this. And at a point he was accusing me of sleeping with the security guard. So I don't know what type of exchange may have happened between the two of them when I wasn't around. But something happened to make him pull me to the side and say, "Watch yourself. Be careful," right? Watch out for him. It didn't register. So moving right along, Jay is like, "I want to get married, and I want to get married now." He's like, "I don't want to wait. I want to get married. We can go to the courthouse. We can do this." And I'm like, why do you want to rush and get married? Remember, I just came out of a marriage from BJ, who I was like, felt like was the love of my life, my first love, like my real first love. Like, so I wasn't so eager to jump back into a marriage situation, even though I knew I needed to be married because, I mean, I'm a Christian woman, right? I don't need to be just sitting up here screwing somebody and not being a wife, right? So that conviction was heavily on me also. So the time came when it was one of my aunt's birthdays. And so we typically do like cruises and things like that for, some of my auntie's birthdays and stuff like that. So my aunt had a birthday coming up, and she wanted to go to Hawaii. So I was going probably a total of 11, maybe 12 days, right? I was gone for a minute. During the time that I was gone, I left him my car keys so that he can get my oil and stuff changed, because that was something that I needed to do before I left. And he was like, "I'll take care of it for you, blah, 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 blah," right? Boom. Gave him my keys so he can get my oil changed and, kind of maybe get my tires rotated, stuff like that. It was never intended for him to use my keys for anything else other than taking my vehicle to get serviced, right? So I come back off this trip. I'm missing him. He's missing me. It's all love. It's mwah, mwah, mwah. So happy that you're home. Like, here we go again. He's up under me. We talking about marriage again. And he's like, "Let's do it. I want to get married." But this time he was really pressing on this marriage thing. I'm talking about like to the point where he was throwing temper tantrums. Like, "You don't want to marry me? Like, why you don't want to marry me?" And I'm like, "I do want to marry you. I just don't want to go to the courthouse." Like but in my mind, I'm like, I'm not finna jump in on marriage right quick. Plus I had this feeling in my gut, in my heart, in my spirit, like, no. I kept feeling like I didn't know him. That's the best way I can explain it. I kept feeling like I did not know him. Like I didn't know who he really was. Like he had a whole separate life. And I even asked him, I said, "Is there anything that you need to tell me that I don't know about you that we haven't already talked about?" And he was like, no, there's nothing. And I was like, "Are you sure?" Because it felt like he had a whole other life that I just wasn't aware of. Like, discernment is a real thing, okay? Your gut feeling, that thing that God gives us as women, as humans, as individuals, but especially as women, don't ignore that. That is literally your lifeline. I just felt like he had a double life. I felt like he had a whole other life that I didn't know about. And it was just baffling me that I kept feeling this way, because I had never been with anybody in my life that I literally thought they got a secret life. But with him, I thought that. And so I'm like, okay, let me just bypass that. I'm tripping, whatever, whatever. Finally, he gets to the point where he's like, listen, we need to get married. I love you. You love me. I want you to be my wife. I know you my wife. I was like, okay, let's start planning. We'll get married. So I said that, but immediately when I said it, something in me was like, no. It was like a dread took over me, right? So what I did, and I'm telling you, if you don't do anything else, do this. God is faithful to answer you. I was in my car on the way to work. It was a Monday. I will never forget it. I got in my car. I was driving to work, and this whole marriage thing was felt like a ton of bricks on me. It didn't feel right. It felt wrong. And I was like, I can't go into this not knowing if God is saying okay or not, because I love the man now, okay? But I don't know if I've gotten a stamp of approval from God yet. I've just been kind of doing my thing, right? So I'm in my car, and this was my exact prayer, y'all. I said, God, I love this man. I want to be with this man. I want to marry this man. But if it's not in your will, if he is not the one for me, if there's anything that I need to see, let me see it, Lord. And I said, I don't care how bad it hurts. I want to know sooner than later. Y'all, God was listening. Do you hear me? This was on a Monday. 2 days later, on Wednesday, Bible study night, right? Remember I said we go to church together. I come home and he calls me like, hey, we going to Bible study tonight? And I'm like, yeah. So he's like, all right. So I'm again, we're in the same complex. So he just, kind of pulls down the way to pick me up. And so he comes up to the apartment or whatever. And I was like, I can't remember. I was looking for something. And I said, I can't remember what I was looking for, y'all. This is how traumatizing this whole event ended up being. I forgot stuff before that, okay? I said, I can't find something. And he was like, well, maybe you left it in my truck. I was like, oh, maybe I did. And so he's in the apartment chilling because it's not exactly time for Bible study. So we kind of hanging out a little bit, whatever. So I said, let me go look. So I go down to his truck, y'all. And under the seat is a videotape, right? It's a videotape, but it's broken half. And the tape is, kind of pulled out, right? So I know that I have a camcorder. He does not have a camcorder at all, right? I have one. So I'm like, so I saw the tape, and y'all, my heart started going boom, 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 boom. Like my heart started beating so fast. It was like my spirit knew, right? So I grabbed the tape from up under the seat and I played it off, right? Went up to the apartment and was like, no, it wasn't down there, whatever. He's like, oh, well, so. So we still talking. Everything's cool. Like nothing's going on. But in my mind, I'm like, I got to see what's on this tape. So he's like, all right, well, you ready? I was like, you know what? I was like, I forgot I got to do such and such. Just go ahead and go to Bible study without me. And he's like, you sure? I was like, yeah, go ahead and go without me. I'll go next week or whatever. Cause I got to do this, whatever excuse I came up with a good excuse. Okay. Y'all, when he closed that door and left out the house, I was going to work on that tape like a physician. You hear me? Like a whole surgeon. I literally put that tape together, glued it together. I took a pencil or something and rolled up the tape that was on the inside. This is an old, like a little small camcorder tape. They don't make those no more, I don't think. But this is what that was back then. So I'm rolling it up. The tape was actually broke. So I took a little piece of tape and taped the two pieces of tape together, rolled that thing up, super glued the pieces together of the outside of the tape. Went in my closet, got my camcorder, because my camcorder, the last time I used it, it was on my trip to Hawaii, right? I'm like, okay, he don't have a camcorder. Why does he have a video? And also the tape was the brand that I don't buy. It was a brand that I don't buy. So it was an off brand. I'm like, okay, but I know that this fits in my camcorder. Y'all, let me tell you, I'm glad I can laugh about it now because God delivered me. But woo cha, okay? I put that tape in the tape recorder, and y'all, this man, Jay, was having sex raw in my living room. I was like, have you ever just felt your life leave your body? That is what happened to me. Everything, like, y'all, I started throwing up. Like, it was bad. It was so bad. Y'all, the things that I saw on this tape, it was more pornographic. It was so vile. I completely understand snapped. I understand how people can snap. I get how people can, in a fit of rage, kill someone, because it is so unnatural to see the person that you love having sex. Think about when we know the cheating is happening. It's devastating. It's like, oh my God, so heart-wrenching, so hurt. It just hurts. Now imagine seeing it. Imagine seeing it with your own two eyes. The person that you lay with, that you have sex with, this person is literally in your house violating you, not once, but twice. They're violating you because they're in your home. Now, he didn't live with me. So what happened is, if y'all can put two and two together, when I left my keys for him to take my car, he made a copy of my apartment key. And so while I was at work, he was taking women to my house and having sex with them. Let that sink in for a minute. Let it sink in for a minute. So that's when I think about it, it's crazy. Like, I still be like, I can't believe that really happened to me. Like, I can't believe that happened to me, and I ain't crazy. I might be a little bit crazy, but I'm just saying, like, that is not natural. So I'm looking at this tape, and I started to hyperventilate. And I call my cousin, who is like one of my best friends in the whole wide world. I call her, and she knows me almost more than I know myself. She knows me. I mean, like, that's my sister, okay? I call her, and she answers the phone, and I'm hyperventilating, y'all. I can't talk. I can't get my words out. And she immediately started crying because she knew something devastating had happened. She's like, oh my God, Tisha, calm down. What happened? Oh my God. That's all because she knew. Like, and I'm like, I can't. This is what I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to say, I can't believe he did this to me. I'm trying to say that, but I'm like, okay, what? That's how it's coming out, y'all. Ooh, and I'm getting chills talking about it because, listen, I'm healed from that. But that feeling was so raw. It was so raw. There is nothing like it in the world. I don't ever wish it on anyone. I don't wish it on anyone. So I'm crying. And I'm like, I told her what happened. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, turn the tape off. Stop watching it. And the whole time I'm talking to her, it's playing. And I'm like, because I'm hearing everything he's saying. I'm hearing him moan. I'm watching him do all this stuff in my home that he doesn't live in. And I was blown away by that, but I was more blown away at the fact that I saw him doing it. But it was all of it was blowing me away. All of it. Like, this is my house. Like, you're screwing someone in my house and you recorded it with my video camera. And in my mind, I'm like, when did you have time to screw anybody else because you wouldn't leave me alone? I got off the phone with my cousin, and I think she called my parents because she was so worried about me. She was like, oh my God, somebody need to get over there. Like, she was worried about me. And my parents called me on the phone, and my mom is crying. She's like, baby, do you want me to come get you? You want to go to the hospital? You want to go to that? And I'm like, no. I mean, I'm gone, y'all. Like, I am like done. Like stick A4. I was about to marry this man. Talk about being kind. I literally I could not believe that this is who I've been with all this time. This is who I've been giving my body to. This is who I've been in relationship with all this time. He's a monster. He's terrible. I couldn't believe it. So I told my mother, I'm like, no, I'm fine. After I calmed down and everything, I'm like, no, I'm crying. They immediately went into praying for me. You know, my mom, she's a prayer warrior. Okay. That's where I get it from. She goes into, Father God, we just right now come before you. I mean, it was that deep, y'all. So get off the phone with them. And now remember, he's at Bible study. Well, he probably was screwing somebody, but I'm thinking he's at Bible study, right? So he comes back to my apartment, right? And he had a few things at my place because, again, he spent the night a lot, you know? So he had some stuff over there, a few little things or whatever. He comes back to my place and the door was open and he walks in and all his stuff that he had at my place was at the front door. And when you come into the front door, like you run immediately into the kitchen. So like the kitchen counter was right there. Okay. So he comes into the door and I had the video camera sitting right there facing the front door playing with him screwing this girl. And y'all, it's like he had seen a ghost. He literally looked at it and backed up like, you know, almost like somebody had a gun to him. Like he backed up like this and then turned around and started to walk towards the door. And then he turned back around. It was like he was confused, right? Like he could not believe what he was seeing. He couldn't believe that I saw what he was doing, right? So he comes in and the first thing this Negro say, y'all, is, that's not me. Y'all, I swear, I can laugh about it now, y'all. Thank you, Jesus. I can laugh about it now. But the first thing he said was, that's not me. I don't know if that's like a reflex response or like if it's a stupid response because you just so busted that the only thing you can do is say it's an imposter. I don't know. But that was his response. And I didn't say anything. I was just looking at him. And he was like, okay, I can explain. He went from saying it wasn't him to saying that somebody blackmailed him and made him do it to saying that he was trying to buy me a wedding ring. And so he was a paid escort and he's getting money for that. I mean, y'all, the lies. They never, ever stopped. They went from one extreme to the next. And the only thing I said to him was, get your and get the out of my house. That was what I said. I ain't gonna repeat what I said. Y'all can fill in the blanks, you know. Get your and get the out of my house. And he's steady trying to talk to me. And he's steady trying to explain. And he's steady trying to, and I'm like, get your and get the out of my house. Like in my mind, I'm thinking like, why do I have to keep saying this to you? Like I'm trying not to kill you. Like I'm trying not to go to jail. Why do I need to keep telling you to get out? Like what I don't care what the explanation is. So he's steady talking. Y'all, I got so angry. I literally went over to him and I punched him in the head so hard, y'all, that I broke my hand. True story. Broke my hand on his head. And listen, I'm not a violent person, but the weight of what was happening in that moment was so bad. His presence angered me to such a degree that I just wanted to harm him. I wanted to harm him. That's just what that was. Okay. So broke my hand. Guess who had to drive me to the hospital? The whore. The whore had to drive me to the hospital. So I go to the hospital, get patched up. I'm in a cast for 6 weeks now. Y'all, this really happened, okay? This is why I try to tell everybody that I can. When you are in a relationship that God has not ordained, get out of it. What are you waiting for something tragic to happen? Are you waiting to see if maybe you don't get your heart broke? Are you waiting to see if maybe God will bless it because you decide to stick it out? You know, if there are signs and flags and things that stand out, don't ignore that stuff. It's that your intuition, your discernment is there for your safety. It's there for your safety. Okay? So I'm in a cast for 6 weeks, six to 8 weeks. I'm in this cast for a minute because my hand is broke. So I got pins in my hand, y'all. It was bad. Like I still got scar tissue in one of my fingers from that. Okay. But the moral of the story is this, okay? God healed me from that trauma. I just want to encourage those of you who are hanging on to a relationship that you know God has told you no to. You know you've had red flag after red flag after red flag after red flag. Stop trying to wait for a green flag. Stop trying to wait for a yellow flag. The red flags that you've seen are enough. Just go ahead and cut your losses. It's better for you to mourn the loss of the relationship and hurt from that pain as opposed to a devastating hurt from a different type of pain because of that relationship, okay? Let it burn. Let it hurt. Let the pain happen so that you can avoid a greater, more devastating pain later, okay? Thank you for listening to my story. I hope that it blesses you. I hope that it gives you some confidence to leave a situation that God has said no to, okay? And don't be afraid to pray the prayer for God to show you, because He will.